All right. How you guys doing this evening? Hey, this is Terry with NSPS TV Paranormal Podcast. Hey, I know it's kind of late, but I got a very special young lady. I think you guys need to, come on the show and listen to what she has to say. Uh, Miss Bella Luna. How you doing today?
Hello.
You doing good, I supposedly. How was your Mother's Day?
It was absolutely wonderful. Got to spend it with my daughter.
Wow, that's cool. That is cool. Hey, this day is just for you guys. So I
Hmm.
hope you enjoyed it. Father's Day, they don't care about us. I mean, me myself, I'm good for a 6 pack of beer and just leave me alone.
That's awesome.
I'll be good with it. Seriously, just let me get a peace of mind for one day. That's what I ask for my kids. And do they give it to me?
They
No,
try? Maybe they try.
no,
Not even
no.
try. Okay.
They don't even. Okay, Miss Luna, tell me what you are all about. I want to know everything.
Hmm.
Just open up, share yourself to the world, and just tell me exactly what you did.
Sure. Well, I am a practicing witch. I have been practicing, I don't have the exact number of years, but I'll probably say somewhere between 25 to 30 years
Wow.
or so that I've been practicing. And I have. I'm kind of in the closet, and at the same time, I'm not. Um, a lot of my family still doesn't know, but some of my family does. My daughter knows, of course. Um, my practice is predominantly folk magic of the Asian flavor. I'm half Asian, so it's really Filipino folk magic, but also my other side is more Anglo-Saxon Norse uh, heathenry side.
Okay. Okay. Now,
So, but
oh,
it's
go ahead.
very ancestral based. Very ancestral based is my
Okay.
practice.
Can you tell me the difference between the two?
So, between you mean between heathenry and the Filipino folk magic?
Yes.
So, so Asian folk magic, just in general, is definitely very unlike the European kind of mainstream witchcraft. So it's funny because I identify as a witch. I say, that I practice witchcraft, but really and truly it is more folk magic based. And folk magic differs from mainstream witchcraft in several different ways.
Okay.
First of all, animism is really more central to most folk magic practices around the world. And I don't know if you're familiar with what animism is.
No, I have no clue.
So, animism is the idea that there is a literal life force within all living things on this planet.
Okay.
So, it's not just people that have souls or have life forces, it's plants, it's animals, and such. A lot of practitioners do believe that everything holds energy, but that's not the same thing as animism. So it's not just that I think that a flower has energy. I believe the flower also has a spirit, a life, like actual life force within it.
Okay. Okay.
The other thing too is that with folk magic practices, it's really most often not associated with any type of religion. Mainstream witchcraft that you see today, it doesn't have to be, but a lot of times you will see religious aspects wrapped up into it. Also, folk magic is there's not a lot of um, ritual and ritualistic type things that you see more in mainstream witchcraft. And you really also don't see a lot of tools. There's now you don't now mainstream witchcraft, some people use a lot of tools, some people use a few tools. There's a few practices and traditions that have prescribed tools that you must have. That's really not the case in folk magic, really anywhere around the world that you'll find. Very, very few tools are used.
Okay.
Now, from the difference between the heathenry the heathenry, the Anglo-Saxon heathenry that I follow is actually, believe it or not, rather similar because again, it's more folk magic.
Okay.
And like I said, and that's to me, that's part of the beauty of folk magic is that it doesn't matter where in the world that you're looking at and whether or not those cultures have ever been able to interact with each other, you'll find a lot of similarities
Okay. Wow.
in especially in the subject of animism, and the not there's no worship involved in either.
Okay.
There can be, but for me, there's not. I do not worship anything. So I don't know if that kind of gives you a little bit of an
Well,
idea.
no. I mean, unless I'm actually reading and studying up on all this, it probably flew right past me. But because half those words I did not. I'm just being honest with you. I've never even heard of before.
Oh,
Uh,
okay. Well, you can stop me
let's.
and ask me whatever something means.
Okay. Well, you know what? Let's actually get into what we're here to talk about.
Hmm.
How does the paranormal and how does it ties itself to witches, warlocks, and pagans?
You know, usually when one gets into this life, this path in life, um, of magical practice of any kind, and there's actually many different types of magical systems within the magical arts. Usually, if done correctly, it opens yourself up naturally to the spiritual world. It's almost hand in hand, and really, when it comes to witchcraft in particular and folk magic practices, even though they are not normally associated with religion, again, although they can be,
Mhm.
it is a spiritual path. Whether one chooses to believe it or not, it actually is a very spiritual path. There's actually many witches who believe that um, there is some sort of initiation that happens when one embraces their witchcraft, that side and that path. And that initiation is not like what you hear of, rituals and things like that. And, you get I don't know, a different colored robe or something. It's actually a spiritual initiation.
Oh, okay.
And usually when one first starts embarking on this lifestyle, they tend to have more spiritual and what many might call paranormal experiences. And that's sort of an initiatory way of the spirit world to say, hey, we see you, we recognize you.
Wow. Okay. Uh, how do you feel the way that Hollywood, portrays witches, warlocks, and all those, and all that stuff? How do you feel about the way they portray you guys?
Well, I think it's silly, you know. And to be honest, I mean, a lot of people get offended by it. I mean, I'm older, it's much harder to offend me these days. Um, I think it's funny. I think it's ridiculous. And you know what? At the same time, I also, in many ways, have no problems with it because you know what? Fiction is fiction, and there are fiction stories and books and movies that are written by all kinds of different lifestyles,
Mm-hmm.
and because fiction has to be based on something,
Right.
and so I can't get offended by that. What I get offended by is when people take that and translate that and think that that's the truth, that it equates to the truth.
Wow. Okay.
That's the part that I have an issue with.
I don't blame you
You
on
want
that.
Yeah, you wanna watch The Craft? Go to town. It's a good movie, right? But don't sit there and tell me that that is what my practice is like, because
No,
that's the
I,
movies.
it's just a movie. You're right. Uh, how far does witchcraft and witches go back in time?
A few thousand years, actually.
A few thousand years.
Yes.
So, uh, wow,
Yeah.
that
A-
is
and this is and what I'm saying to you is, when I talk about the history of witchcraft, when I talk about history of witchcraft in the past, my again, and I think because of my ancestry and my background, I don't look at and discuss the European witch trials and blah 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 and all of that. And I'm talking about all across the world witchcraft. There's historically documented occurrences of witchcraft over 2000 years ago all the way back to China.
wow.
So I feel confident in saying that it's been around for that long.
Well, I know Hollywood play. I mean, because I've actually watched Salem,
Mhm.
uh, and Mary Sibley. Is she real, or did she really exist in those times? Because
Um,
it seemed like she had a big part in the way the witches are are today, especially in the United States.
yeah.
So
So I'm probably going to be a disappointment to you and your listeners because, again, like I said, I don't really. I'm actually not a proponent of really studying and looking at the Salem witch trials. And the name does sound familiar. It could have been, but here's the thing, is that the Salem witch trials, m- I believe, and I know a number of us longtime practitioners believe, the Salem witch trials are actually not a part of witchcraft history. They're a part of human history. They're part of American history because there were 19 people um, throughout those trials that were accused and condemned. Okay. Only 19, number one. And of those 19, there's only one that you can even say that it's suspected maybe she had a hand in some practice. The others, they were just a result of jealousy, people pointing fingers, I want your land. That honestly has nothing to do with witchcraft. It has to do with, unfortunately, human nastiness, human behavior.
right, and I
Now,
think that yeah, go ahead.
no, I was going to say, so did those people exist? Absolutely, they existed. There nobody is denying that fact. Whether or not they were truly practicing, like I said, there's only one out of those 19 that you can possibly think was practicing. Having said that, there have been some known witches in U.S. history that were not part of the Salem witchcraft trials. There's actually been a lot of witchcraft that has been practiced even in the U.S., especially in the Appalachians. To this day, there's actually still a number of witchcraft practices, again, more folk based, but you will find them on the East Coast and in the northern part of the USA, the Northeast, very much so. And then you'll also find them in the southern part of the US.
Okay. Why do you think you guys are? Because I've noticed you guys are coming out. There are more and more Facebook groups that pertain witches, pagans, and warlocks. Why do you think you guys are actually stepping out of that closet into the world and letting the world know that hey, I am here and I am this. Either you deal with it or go climb a tree or something.
Yeah, that's a sore spot for me because the fact that everybody is so open about it right now is a double-edged sword for me. In some ways it's nice to see, but in other ways, it's actually very difficult, especially for those of us who've been doing this for a long time and who really take this seriously, because a lot of this has become a fad.
Right.
And so, we see people that are coming out that are really treating it more of an aesthetic, and really trying to, like you said, spread the word. And to be honest with you, that's never really been our intention and our goal before,
Right.
because we're not, that's more of an Abrahamic dogmatic approach of trying to preach and spread the word and convert. And like, that's never been us as a society. So it is a little odd seeing that now, seeing people wanting to go out and spread the word and accept us. We are who we are. And, again, that is true. We are who we are. But it makes me personally feel uncomfortable, to be
Wow.
honest with you.
Oh, wow. Okay. Now,
Yeah.
tell me the difference. Now, I know a witch is a female and a warlock.
No, no,
No?
that is a misconception.
Oh, wow. Explain that to me, please. I have
Witch,
to.
the word witch is gender neutral.
Okay.
That's a product of Hollywood.
That's a product of Hollywood.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
A witch can be a male or a female. Witch is
Okay.
gender neutral. Warlock is an interesting term because depending on who you talk to, there are certain traditions where the word warlock is considered to actually be an offensive word.
Really?
And it's mostly in the European traditions. So if you end up having, other guests on here that will have, the background that are more European tradition based, they
Mhm.
will tell you that that word is very offensive.
Wow.
Um, Many of us who are not part of those traditions could care less if you
Right.
use that word, because warlock was used, mostly by European Christians,
Okay.
to speak ill, um, of witches, and the word warlock, the way they used it, meant oathbreaker. So you actually will see uh, male witches today who are trying to use that word because they are so tired of being stereotyped by, yes, I'm not a girl, I can still be a witch. Okay, fine, just call me a warlock. And then getting equally attacked by those who consider warlock to be an offensive word.
Wow.
But the reality is, just to make it simpler, is witch is a gender neutral term.
Jen,
I equate it to being a nurse. Okay.
okay.
Everybody thinks nurses are women. There's just
Not
as many
true.
guy nurses out there.
Yes.
And it's the same thing with witches.
There
I
you
just
go.
happen to be a nurse. So that's why I feel like I can use that, because I've seen that just as equally in my profession as I in my lifestyle.
Well, you know what? You are absolutely correct because I've definitely thought that the two was totally different, and if I offended anybody, I apologize. I just learned something new. You know. Okay, let's talk about pagans.
Mhm.
And you know what? Let's back up a minute. And I come to realize because I do a lot of searching on Facebook for
Mhm.
witches and pagans, and you're right because not too many groups use that word warlock. I mean,
Mhm.
that, and I always wondered why. And then you told me that. Thank you. I mean, it's
Yeah.
I understand now
Yeah.
on how that actually works. Okay,
Mhm.
well, tell me a little about the pagan because I see that word a lot on Facebook uh,
Yeah.
groups.
So paganism as a whole is a category of religions. So basically, you have, in essence, two main categories of religions, right? You have your Abrahamic, which is a monotheistic religion.
Okay,
And you have Judaism in there, you have Christianity and all of the different sects of the Christianity, Catholicism, Islam. That's all Abrahamic, monotheistic. Polytheism are all of the other religions that are non-Abrahamic and polytheistic. So, meaning they do not believe in the Abrahamic God, and they believe in multiple deities, not just one.
Okay, cool.
Hmm.
Now, you said you have a daughter.
Yes.
Would you recommend your daughter following you in your path, or would
That's her
you,
choice.
that's
It's
her
her
choice?
choice.
How,
Yeah.
yeah, how does she feel about you and you being a witch? How does she feel about that?
Um, uh, she really has no feeling about it either way. It's interesting because I did not openly expose her to it,
Okay,
because you have to understand, when I started getting into it, I was a very young teen. I am not a young teen by any stretch of the imagination now. uh, at that time, it was still very ostracized. I mean, even though it's more out there now, trust me, it's still not widely accepted. But,
right.
back in the 90s, please, it was not at all accepted. And so I didn't want my daughter to have to go through those stresses. And so I shielded her from that for the majority of her life.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I guess it's what happens, when you have family and you're close. What I thought I was hiding from her, apparently I didn't do as well, because when I finally decided to have some conversations with her about it when she got older, she's like, "Yeah, I know. No kidding, mom. I live with you. You're my mom." I'm
Wow,
like,
okay.
"Oh, okay. Well,
Hey,
never mind then."
well, she's acceptance of it, So
So
if
so
she,
yeah, so yeah, she's very accepting of it. I see a lot of natural gifts in her. Does she formally practice? No, but there's a lot of instinctual things that she does. Just obviously being raised around me, that I see that she just does naturally. So
okay,
I encourage whatever she wants to do.
okay, let me throw you for a loop for a minute. How
Hmm.
do you feel about paranormal investigators?
Oh, I it depends, honestly. It really depends. For me, it depends on what is the ultimate um, goal and purpose behind that person wanting to do that.
Okay.
I think, like most things, um, it's all about, what is happening in here, what's your reason in here, you know. Um, I have seen some people who do it just because, they think it's cool, they want to get a lot of views on YouTube, so on and so forth.
Right.
The level of respect there is not that high for me. I mean, you do you, but yeah, I'm not really going to respect you. But somebody who takes it seriously, who really wants to understand what's going on in the spiritual world, perhaps even help if they can, I
Hmm.
have tons of respect for that.
Okay. Uh, are you gifted?
Uh, that's a loaded question. Um, the reason why I say that is because, I feel funny saying that I am. Um, my my partners on my podcast, the witchcraft podcast that we do,
Hmm.
they tell me, and I've identified, that I do, but I always seem to downplay it. So I if I am to answer honestly, I would say that yes, to an extent. But I've also, I think, always questioned it and never really tried to develop it. And so I just flow with what comes naturally. And
Okay.
if it's there, it's there. And I really just don't kind of take it any further. If that makes any sense.
Oh yeah. Hey, that sounds like you are a medium to me. I mean, if you want to take it slow, I mean that's cool. I mean, that's what most of them do
I would not clairsentience for sure. I would not take it as far as mediumship.
as mediumship.
One of my partners is a medium. I tell you for sure I cannot do what he does.
Oh
That I know
really?
for sure. Clairsentience, absolutely.
Wow. Okay. And what's the difference between the two?
So clairsentience is really just a more of a general knowing.
Okay.
So there's different what we call clairs. There's clairaudience, um, uh, uh, clairsentience is more knowing. Clairaudience is you can hear, um, or you may just smell things
Right.
from the spiritual side. Whereas the mediums, they can actually channel spirits. They can sense spirits.
Okay.
And so that I that I cannot do to the level that one of my partners does. Can I sometimes sense a spirit? Absolutely. And
Okay.
I don't like the way that it manifests when I do sense them. It doesn't feel good.
Doesn't feel good. What's the
No.
difference between a witch and a gypsy? Because I know gypsies sometimes practice witchcraft, or at least they do on TV. I mean, I've watched a lot of TV, and and they do a lot of stuff. Typically on the bad side of things. Yeah, I've been watching Van Helsing and all that stuff. So,
I love that show, by the way. Yeah.
so I mean,
Yeah,
what's
so gypsies are that's a cultural thing. That is they are from certain countries, certain cultures that claim the term gypsy, that live the gypsy lifestyle. And like all cultures, some practice, some don't. It's there's not really a difference per se, except for that, like I said, it doesn't gypsy doesn't automatically equate to practicing magic.
ah
Gypsy is more of a cultural term.
okay? Now, practicing magic.
Hmm.
Good question. I mean, uh, I mean, clearly I know the difference between somebody practicing good magic and bad magic. Now, is there a difference between the two, or magic is just magic? It's just who's doing it.
Magic is neutral. The
Okay.
concept of good versus bad, good magic, bad magic, black magic, white magic, that's taking us back to number one, Hollywood, and number two, the Abrahamic perspective of dualism, good
Okay.
versus bad, evil versus, benevolent. Many of us do not believe in stark contrasts of this or that. Um, that's to me personally, that's a little bit of doing a disservice and a little bit of a diss to the human being. We're that simplistic that everything is just this or that. No, that's not true. When you think about life, most everything falls in the gray area.
Okay.
And so
Yeah,
when it
that's
comes when it comes to good versus bad, um, the way I practice and the way many of us practice is, and again, this is another going back to the difference between folk magic versus the mainstream witchcraft, is it's not about good versus bad. It's about justification.
right.
Is
But
this a justified act?
we have to acknowledge that it is out there. You
What
know,
is out there?
uh, people practicing bad magic. White magic. Uh, I mean, there have to be people out there that actually practice bad magic or dark
N-
magic.
No, actually, not necessarily. And again, like I said, magic is neutral. It's kind of
Okay.
like you can, how do I put this? You can use a stake to cut up a knife for excuse me, a steak to cut up your knife. You can use a knife to cut up a steak for your child
Okay.
to eat, or you can use a knife to slit somebody's throat. So magic is neutral. It goes back to what you were trying to say earlier, which is what is the person's ultimate intention? Is that person trying to cause harm for no reason but just to be, a mean person? So that no longer becomes it's not a bad magic versus good magic. That's a bad person versus a good person.
Okay. Uh, what kind of certain holidays that you guys, or you guys go out and hang out with other witches? Is there like a certain place or a certain time of the year that you guys congregate and have a festival, or or just come together and just do what you guys do?
It depends on the witch and whether or not they follow a pagan belief or if they don't.
Okay.
So, unfortunately, part of the trend is you do see a lot of people talking about, the wheel of the year, the 8 holidays. That is again kind of become like the trend that one assumes that all witches do that. Witches are not a cult. We all do our own thing.
Well,
Yeah, we're not like one big club that, but having said that, there's a lot of people that do follow certain religions that do observe the wheel of the year. The wheel of the year is not, however, universal to all pagan practices. So even witches who are pagan that follow other types of pagan religions, their holidays might have similarities to the wheel of the year. They might be totally different from the wheel of the year.
okay. Hey, you got anything special going on for Friday the 13th coming up?
Friday the 13th is really kind of neat for me. So I actually like to do spell work on Friday the 13th.
Now, when you say spell work, can you be more specific?
Practice magic.
Practice magic.
Yes.
Okay. Well, hey, you know what? I would love to come and sit on the couch and watch you do that. That would be very interesting. Maybe I can get me a damn love potion or something. But speaking of
Friday the
potions, I
oh,
mean,
sorry.
speaking of potions, do these things work? Have you ever done that?
Oh yeah, yeah. I make many. I have several oils, especially. I like to make spell oils more particularly. I do make some potions. Most of mine are spell oils. I have and spell waters. I do have a few vinegars.
Okay. Now tell me the because it seems like no matter where, no matter what you watch, about a witch, they always have a cat. Is that just something that I'm sorry, they always have a cat. Sabrina had the little black cat, uh, and so on and so on.
Yeah,
I know it's just Hollywood, but tell me, do you have a cat?
I do. But and yes, the cat is black. But I swear to you that was all coincidence. I swear that was coincidence. That was not planned whatsoever. I also have 2 dogs, if that counts.
Okay, well, tell
Um,
me, is
yeah.
that a historical thing that all individuals that are in your religion or not religion, but do what you do, have cats?
No, actually, no. They have all kinds of different animals. The association with the cat is that's very, very convoluted because there are a lot of historical literature, stories, mythos, and such that involve cats all across different cultures. So the cat itself, when you look at multiple different cultures, is usually considered to be a being that traverses between our world and the spirit world. And so I think because of that, there's a natural connection that people make with witches and cats. But like if you looked at Egypt, for example, cats were worshipped. But that's one example where it's believed that the cat can at any point in time traverse between the two worlds.
Well, they say in ancient time, cats were the guardians of the underworld. Am I right?
Hmm. Yes, yeah, that is in some cultures, yes.
Can you imagine the size of that cat? I mean,
Yeah.
I have two here, and man, and they're all they do is eat. So if you want an extra cat, just let me know.
There's actually a handful of animals across cultures that are considered chthonic in nature, which means another word for underworld, that are associated with the underworld that you'll see across multiple cultures that have never interacted with each other. You'll see that with the rat, the frog, the lizard, the snake. Uh, those are all, regardless of what culture, you'll find that they are associated with the underworld in some form or fashion.
Hey, when you say rat and all that, you know what movie came up immediately when you said a rat? Harry
What?
Potter. Harry Potter. That
Yeah, there you go.
yeah, that movie came up, and I just like, oh, a rat. Okay, Harry Potter. And they have owls.
Yes,
I mean, I
yeah.
don't know if you ever had one, but it'd probably be interesting the way they turn their heads around
The
counterclockwise, and probably spook the hell out of me. I mean, I don't know, but at what age would you recommend somebody wanted to do what you do?
that's a interesting question. I don't know if there's a particular age that I would recommend. I think it honestly depends on not just the age, but also the maturity level, and I think most importantly, the support system around you.
Okay.
Um, when I oh, this is one of my babies. He decided to
Hey,
jump up and say hi.
hey,
Uh,
that a cat or a dog?
no, this is a dog. This
Ah,
is a
hello,
little dog.
Gucci.
But this is him and the cat are best buddies for
Wow, how'd you
yes.
pull that off?
I don't know, but they're both the same size. They go hunt together, and yeah, it's very
Hunt
interesting.
together.
Hmm.
Are they indoor outdoor cats?
Yes, I
Oh,
have dead lizards and a dead bird uh, on my
wow.
patio right now, which
Okay.
is wonderful because I save those. I let them decompose, and I use the bones in my
You know
porn.
what? I've seen that. I've actually seen that. Somebody actually, yeah, yeah. We'll talk about that later. Yeah,
But
I've
going
actually.
back to the child, or what age, I can tell you myself personally. I found my first book on witchcraft when I was 7 years old,
Okay.
and I found it in a public, not a public. I found it in a library at my school. But because of the family that I grew up in, very very Catholic oriented, I really didn't have anybody to talk about it with or to pursue it. And so I just maintained the interest, and it wasn't until that I became a teenager that I had a little bit more independence and was able to go out and begin my studies. So
Okay.
if you're young and you have a supportive family, obviously once you get that inkling, go for it. But if you don't have that kind of support system, then you may have to wait until you are independent enough where you can do it on your own.
Now, when you picked up that book, that very first book that you had, did you think that it was a calling for you to become what you are now?
Um, you know, this is that's a hard question to answer because um, it had always felt so natural. It's one of the reasons why I was drawn to the book to begin with. It wasn't it wasn't like I saw the book and I thought that I would look at it to see what it was about. It's like I had
Mhm.
always, for as long as for probably since I could start talking, it just always seemed very natural to me of who I was, or at least who I related to. And so when I did see the book on that shelf, it wasn't like oh, I'm curious to see what it was about. It was like, oh, I
Okay.
like this. I'm going to pull this and read this because finally I get to read more about it.
Wow.
So I don't know about a call. I don't know about a calling. It's more like when I got into my teenage years where I was able to more seriously pursue it, that it,
Uh-huh.
it more like it solidified what I had been feeling as a younger child,
Wow.
if that
Okay.
makes sense.
Oh yeah. Um, Have you ever come across a white lighter before?
No, that's just charmed.
Is that just charmed?
Yes.
Uh, do you know anything a little bit about those individuals?
Not outside of the Charmed series.
Hmm. Because I had an investigation,
Hmm.
and I actually had a white lighter join me, and she kind of threw me for a loop because she started talking about things that I really didn't understand.
Hmm.
One, she started talking about how the earth used to be and how the earth should be. Uh, and just a lot of, I don't know if it was nonsense because I've never even heard of one before until I met her. And she always tells me that she's in tune with the earth, and all that good stuff. But I just had to throw that out there to see if you ever met one. I mean, and
Well,
it,
I'm not going to say whether or not it was authentic or not. Because obviously I've never met her. Um, I can tell you that that nomenclature is a tough thing because um, there's multiple names for the same thing that people use. So it could be that perhaps that's just the name that she's coined because of Charmed. Maybe she felt that connection. I don't know. So, but that term itself, through all of my research, I've never seen anything that has coined that term other than the fictional show Charmed.
okay.
Yeah.
Uh,
But again, that's not downplaying her. Just maybe
right, right,
something that
right.
she's
I
connected with
understand.
it. Yeah.
Bella, tell me, how powerful can a witch become?
Um,
Is there certain levels, to this, or it's just I'm going to practice this and this only. I really don't want to think that I can go above that. But the thing about that, there's always greed. There's people always want more.
sure, sure.
You know what I'm saying? So how
I there
powerful can they get?
the you can get pretty powerful. The thing that many of us though believe is that um there are some natural limitations. If it's and this is where we can honestly open and debate this for hours because generally speaking, many of us believe that our magic is not really going to go outside of what's scientifically possible.
Okay.
Having said that, you and I both know that what was once considered scientifically impossible 200 years ago today is scientifically possible.
Right.
So there is that debate. But generally speaking, when one practices magic, whether you're talking about witchcraft, folk magic, ceremonial magic, ritual magic, whatever kind of magic, it's all on some level manipulating energies um, that of this plane of existence and possibly other planes of existence.
Okay. Wow. Now, let's go back to Hollywood
Hmm.
for a minute. We know Hollywood's full of BS. Every movie that they come out is full of BS. Now, let's go back maybe 30 years ago. I think me and you was probably in high school back then. But
30 years ago. No, I was out of high school.
oh darn, let's talk about the Blair Witch Project.
Yes.
Fiction or nonfiction?
Um, that is definitely fiction. It's fiction.
It's fiction. Okay.
I need to get something to drink. I'm about to choke.
Hey, go ahead and enjoy your. Hey, go ahead and do what you do. I'll be sitting right here.
I'll be right back.
Okay. What are you doing?
I'm so
Ooh.
sorry.
Oh, you're good. You're good. No, stay right there. Okay. Let's go back to Hollywood for a moment because I'm really curious on the way Hollywood, portray you guys.
Hmm.
Some negative, some good. Charm. I think they portrayed you guys as good. You know, yeah, I think that's probably one of my favorite shows. But
That was a good show.
yeah, I mean, I hated that the new one didn't work out. It got canceled. But if you don't have those original actors on there, I mean, it's gonna fail regardless. Because people, especially our age, are used to the original characters,
Yeah.
which were good actors at the time. So I have no clue on where they're at right now. But one of my cats over there getting one. I wish I could show you a picture, but he did not like being picked up. I'm serious. This cat, people say he's overweight. He's probably a good 15 pounds, if I can say.
Oh, wow. I don't know if that's overweight. I guess it just depends on the type of cat.
And actually, I have two, the mama and the daughter. Seeing them, I think the mama is probably over there on the couch. But anyway, let's get back to the show. Uh, wow, dude, there's so many things rolling through my head. I mean, I don't even
Mhm.
know where just to ask. Uh, it seems like it seemed like that Hollywood has put a negative light on you guys.
Mhm.
Uh, and but yet I don't think anybody had actually stood up and say, "Hey, no, this is not the way that it is, or the way you guys, portray it to be."
So actually, that did happen.
Oh, did it?
It happened in the 70s.
Okay, before I was born.
There were a group of people. Doreen Valiente was probably one of the more prominent ones. This happened more so in the UK, but it did help to kind of spread around the world, or at least in the first world countries. Um, did a lot of lobbying and PR work, if I guess you could say, trying to spread the word more specifically about Wicca. Not and Wicca is a religion that does practice magic. Um, and in all honesty, that's more than likely why most people who don't know very much about witches assume that one is Wiccan, and
Right.
that's because of the wonderful PR that she did to really try to explain to the world, we're not, you know, these crazy people that sacrifice babies and all of this stuff. And so obviously, that is still a work in progress to get people out of that mindset. But what she was able to do, her and a few other people in that circle, what they were able to do was remove some laws that were on the books still into the 70s that would potentially persecute witches.
Wow. Are you telling me that's been on the books since the 1700s?
When I say persecute witches, I'm not talking about like what you think necessarily about, hanging witches, burning witches, but still being able to arrest them or do something
Yes.
to that. Yes, up until the 70s, 1970s. Yes.
Wow, that
Now,
is
I will tell you that that was in the UK. Here in the US, there are still some laws. Uh, I think in North Carolina, there were some laws centered around witchcraft, or at least magical practice, that didn't come off the books until about 15, 20 years ago.
wow. That is
And
amazing.
yeah, and then of course you have countries to this day it's still on the books. Like,
Transylvania.
I mean, we're talking about, oh my gosh, what is it? I know in some of the Islamic states, as you can imagine,
Oh yeah.
um, Nigeria, oh my gosh, uh, uh, kids being burned alive because they were being accused of witchcraft to this day.
You know what? You just mentioned something literally 30 seconds ago. I'm really curious about sacrifice.
Mhm.
Does that happen today?
Yes.
Wow. So what exactly do you guys sacrifice?
So that word is a very broad word, and it's going to depend on number one, your tradition. Number two, if they're your religion, if it's associated with your religion, um, and number three, obviously, your laws. There are some practices where sacrifice is seen more symbolic at this point. So it's not necessarily taking a life of something,
Mm-hmm.
but it is still sacrificing something. And so you have that, but you also do have practices that will still sacrifice an animal of some sort. That does still happen. Yes.
Okay. Wow. Uh, that is amazing that you guys. Now, when you guys talk about sacrifice, it doesn't get no more than that, right? I mean, because I know
Usually.
back in 1700s, supposedly, small children and all that stuff. Once again, I think that's
Yeah.
Hollywood that's
Yeah.
pulling our head up full of boo boo.
So, and this is where it gets convoluted because you're absolutely right. There is very, I feel very comfortable making a very broad statement saying that human sacrifice you really don't see anywhere in most of the world. Always have to leave that caveat because you never know. I can't
Right.
tell you what's going in every single part of the world. Having said that, I will tell you that because of things like Hollywood and because of misconceptions, there are some people that have taken that to the extreme and have claimed things like, I am a Satan worshiper and I am going to kill this person in the name of Satan, son of Sam.
Right.
That's exactly what that was. In fact, son of Sam um, was the person or people, depending on what conspiracy theory you believe, were doing so under the guise of trying to, um, you know, uh, sacrifice to Satan and killing people. But the thing is, they were not actually Satanists. The
Hmm.
satanic religion does not have sacrifice or anything like that. It's a whole different. So what they did was they took a Hollywoodized fantasy and brought it to life.
Wow. Okay.
And because they did that in the name of Satanists and witches and such, that actually spurned the first satanic panic wave of the 70s.
Hmm.
And so that's the challenge that we have because even though we know the difference between Hollywood and reality, there are some people out there who don't and who have a screw loose and will take that to the extreme. And then it just makes it worse for those that,
Really?
who really had nothing to do with it to begin with.
Wow. That is crazy. Now, can you ask this question for me? Maybe again, it might be Hollywood, but are there any books out there that that have got lost with time that that witches can use?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And it's not just witches, actually. Most of the older books that are out there, obviously, as you just said, some are lost through time, and so nobody has them, or either some really rich person has them. Um, the witchcraft books, particularly for those that have maintained it within their family line, some of those have, of course, some very old texts, which is very fortunate for them. Interestingly enough, though, a lot of the books that you see published today that are older texts that have been preserved are actually not witchcraft based. They're more ceremonial magic, high magic based,
Okay.
but they certainly do exist.
Wow. Hey,
Mhm.
I'd like to get one of those books. Hey, how big of a holiday is Halloween for you guys?
I can only speak for myself. So Halloween is not a holiday to me, because Halloween is, well, that's for one. I'm not religious. I don't. And for two, Halloween is it's kind of a commercialized thing. It's not like doesn't really mean anything to me except for it's fun.
Yeah.
uh, Having said that, the time of year of that, there's actually two times during a calendar year that it's believed that the veil, if you will, the border between our world and the spiritual world thins, and that communication is easier. And that does happen to land on around the Halloween time. Now, with unfortunately, again, with the trend, people think that it's synonymous with Halloween, but it actually, depending on your culture and tradition, is actually a span of time. For some, it's 3 days. For some, it's as long as 7 days.
Mhm.
And that actually one just happened, um, May 1st. We're kind of sort of still in it. Um, April 30th to May 1st, and then again on October 31st to November 1st, or like I said, depending on the culture, it may span as long as 7 days.
Okay. Now, you guys, maybe again, it's just Hollywood, uh, but when the red moon came along a couple years ago, does that symbol anything for you guys, or it's just a red moon? I mean, it could not just Hollywood.
You mean the blood moon?
Yeah, the blood moon.
So the blood moon actually, do you know what a blood moon is?
No, not really. I just know it turns red.
A blood moon is just a lunar eclipse. That's what a blood moon is.
Right.
It's called a blood moon because it obviously it seems to be a tinge, this pinkish reddish tinge. So blood moons are generally, I don't know if you'd say important, but it is potent. I do like to do things on blood moons. And the reason being is because in a lunar eclipse, you, in essence, experience all the different phases of the moon, and therefore
Hmm.
all of the different properties of those different phases all in one moment. And so for some, that's considered to be a very potent, powerful time. And so that's definitely a time that a lot of us do like to do ritual or workings during that time.
Okay. Is most of your rituals inside, or do you venture out?
Me personally, I prefer to do my rituals outside, weather permitting.
Weather permitting? Okay.
Yes. I mean,
Wow.
if there's a tornado outside, I'm not going out there.
Hey, trust me, I understand that.
Yeah.
Uh, Man, I mean, you have enlightened me so much. I mean, I really thank you for coming on the podcast,
Oh, thank you for having me.
and we can talk about this forever. But unfortunately, I know you probably have to work in the morning,
Yeah.
and I know I have to work in the morning or tomorrow afternoon. But I've been at work all day. Then I have to drive.
Oh,
I had to drive to Bastrop, Texas, and take some flowers to my mother-in-law's grave. Exactly, where are you located at?
I'm in North Fort Worth.
You're in North Fort Worth.
Yeah.
How's the weather up there?
It's not bad. It's not bad.
Not bad. And you are in a group, am I right? I think we contact each other on a group chat.
Yeah, so I run the Texas Pagans and Witches,
Okay.
even though I'm not a pagan, because I actually took that group over from a friend of mine. And then I actually also started a sister group to that, Texas Witches and Magical Practitioners.
And how many members do you have?
Uh, in the bigger group, we have, I think, we have over 6,000 members.
How many?
Over 6,000.
Wow.
Yeah. The newer group, I just opened that up a couple months ago, and I think we're only at like 150, 200.
Wow. Okay. Have a lot of people reached out to you to join your group? Either one?
Yeah, people are showing up every day
Wow.
to we of course, there's screening questions that they have to go through.
Okay.
So we try really hard to screen.
Now,
Um,
is it just you, a part of the administration, or is there others?
I have about 5 admins on the team with me. Yeah.
Wow. That is, you guys are growing, man.
Yeah, yeah. And it's good too, because it helps support our podcast and our videos from our channel we put on there, obviously, because it's related to the subject.
Right. And how often do
Yeah.
you guys podcast?
So we do our episode live every other Sunday.
Okay.
Uh, and we also drop videos in between. So we do both a podcast and instructional
Okay.
videos.
And what do your videos consist of?
Instruction on witchcraft and magical
Okay.
practice.
And how
Mhm.
long do these videos usually last?
We have videos as short as maybe 5, 6 minutes, and some probably as long as like 25, 28 minutes or so, 30 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah, it just
So
depends.
all the tools are out there for somebody who wants to become a witch is out there. All you got to do is reach out to it, right?
Yes. However, this is that other double-edged sword. Um, when I first started in my teens, there was no internet. That's
Yeah.
how old I am. Uh, there were just bookstores and libraries. Getting a hold of information. Information was out there, but it was very hard to find. Fast forward to today, there is a plethora, a cornucopia of information. The problem is because anybody and their mom can put information out there, there's
Right.
trash out there too. And so when a person is new coming into this, they are challenged with trying to discern which is authentic information, which is trash. And I will tell you that as much of a struggle as it was when I was young, I do not envy whatsoever the people that have to do it today to try to sort through basically chemistry, things that don't mean anything to them and try to figure out what's right, what's wrong, what's
Right.
authentic, what's not. I feel for them.
Now, have you ran across anybody like that before?
Like what?
Just, trying to downplay everything that you guys are trying to accomplish, just negative.
Yeah, sure. They come across. They come across. Because our goal is to dispel the misconceptions. You know, we're trying to protect what what we've had. What's been in existence for hundreds and hundreds of years, and not be tainted. By a lot of the craziness that is happening right now. That we know that's never not going to be able to we're not gonna be able to stop everything, we're
Right,
just a
right.
a a little group, but, it is what it is, we just hope that we can whoever is willing to listen and, be serious and get educated, if we can change, and help a couple people on their way, then we've done what we've set out to do. And, even on our podcasts and on our videos, where we constantly say, don't just take our word. Go research it. Go
Yeah.
check us.
Yeah.
Fact check us.
Okay. You know what? If you had a role model, who would it be?
Oh wow! If I had a role model,
somebody you admired, you looked up to, somebody you greatly respected that's in the field that you're in, you know,
I would have to say, interestingly enough, uh, she's also on YouTube. It would be Raven Ways. Her name is Raven Ways.
Raven Ways?
Yeah. We're probably around the same age. Um, Probably practicing this the same time, but sometimes I feel like she's a little bit more mature than me.
Hey, well, I think you cool. I think you are very mature. I think you are right. No problems.
Well, thank
So,
you. I appreciate that.
but Bella Luna, it has been a pleasure talking to you. Hopefully, one day you can have me on your podcast.
Absolutely.
Me and the hooligans that I run around with on my paranormal show. I mean, on my paranormal
We'd love
team.
we'd love that.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, we're a bunch of lunatics, but but yeah, I mean, hey, it has been a pleasure. Tell the world how to get a hold of you if they want to reach out and just talk.
Absolutely. So you can email at talktothebwitchies.com, and witchies is witchys.com. If you look on YouTube for our channel, we're just called the Bitchy Witchies. But
Bitchy
again,
witches.
yeah, we're called the Bitchy Witchies, and but again, Witchies YS, not IES, YS.
Okay.
And all of our
And how many are there on your podcast?
there's 4 of us total.
Four of us.
Hmm.
Okay, cool.
Yes.
That that the bitchy witchies. That is so funny. Matt, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go right now and I'm gonna go look your channel. I'm gonna hit that share, like, subscribe button
Awesome.
and get you guys another subscriber. So,
Yay.
I can, hey, whenever you guys come on Sundays, hey, it'll pop up and I will join in. You know what I'm saying?
That would be
Because
wonderful.
I'm pretty sure as the night goes on and as the week goes on, I'm like, damn, why come I didn't ask Bella that question? Why come I didn't ask, trust me, my mind gets to racing and I get the one to ask. But you know what? If I just want to know, I'll just text you or,
Absolutely.
message you and hopefully, well, you know what? What I'll do is I'll hold all the questions until you invite me on.
There you go.
Until you invite me on. And trust me, they're just going to get even stranger. The ones today, you know, they're just going to get even stranger questions, that I have because I'm very curious on what you guys do,
And and,
and
and that would be great, actually. And I'm going to talk to them. I'm going to talk to them about it too. One of them is a hereditary, meaning that his family has been practicing for generations, and
wow,
so he will have obviously that perspective.
okay,
One of them is only about 5 years into it, so she has kind of a newer perspective. And then the other one is probably somewhere. Well, she's been practicing for about 25 years or so. She's about 15 years younger than me, but yeah, she has her own little different perspectives. And you can ask her about the gypsy thing because she does have a type of gypsy in her blood as well.
wow. I would love to ask her because right now my mind is racing.
Yeah.
Gypsies, warlocks, all that stuff. Hey, and I know, like you said, that's a no word in the
It's a
witches,
no-no word for some people.
but it's cool, man. I mean, I really enjoyed having you come on the show, and it has been a pleasure talking to you over this last hour, maybe an hour and 10 minutes. Like I say, I would love to do it again. Look me up. I subscribe
Absolutely.
to my channel. You're more than welcome to share this with anybody on the planet or outside the planet. You know,
Absolutely. I've already subscribed to your channel, so looking
but
forward to see what's come.
yeah, I mean, dude, I mean, we're growing, and
Yeah.
it right now it's just flowing, and hey, we like to keep it like that. Having interesting people like you come on and share their life and tell a story is really great. You know what I'm saying?
Appreciate that. Yep.
But in the meantime, like I say, thank you.
Thank you.
And I'm looking forward to hearing you again, and you guys have a good night.
Same to you. All right. Bye bye.
All right. Uh, all right, guys. That was Miss Bella Luna. Bella Luna. She is a well-known witch up in Fort Worth. She has a lot of insight on, and I think she's well on her way, to doing great things. She helped me out on Hollywood. You know how Hollywood seems to take things and run with it. But you know what? Like I say, she really showed me the light on on some things on about witches and warlocks and pagans and all that good stuff. So hey, I would love to get more on because, like she's saying, there's different aspects to all of this. Now, what she might practice, another person might not practice. You know what I'm saying? So there's different levels of this witch pagan warlock thing. Oh, excuse me, don't mean to use the warlock, but there are different aspects to this. So I'm curious to know. I think I'm gonna keep diving into this just to see what exactly that I can, conjure up. Because it's definitely a practice that has been dated back over thousands and thousands and thousands of years. So, hey, I'm just curious to know on exactly how the other individuals that that are witches, but like I say, might not practice what she practiced. So I'm curious to know. In the meantime, you already know what I'm about. This is NSPS TV Paranormal Podcast, Raw and Uncut. Not so much uncut today, but you know what? I've learned a lot. So in the meantime, peace. Boom, 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 boom.